important. When Lehman and Bear failed, okay, think about that moment. The core capital of the banking structure of the planet Earth was very solid, and that is government bonds, right? So in the last 20 years, we've never had a moment where you've got credit risk, which is obviously rising recession in Europe, right? So that's clearly growing. So any bank in Europe is facing increasing credit risk, but also your balance sheet is facing massive interest rate risk. I mean, some of these UK bonds dropped 15, 20 points in the last month, right? So your core capital's in flames, and your risk capital, your risk-weighted assets, as you described, are with Archegos, Greensill, Citrix, the LBOs blowing up. It's just a real problem, and these banks definitely are not passing a U.S. stress test. So there's definitely, I think, a 95–100% probability that there's some type of forced merger bailout in the next, say 30 to 60 days, but it's not a Lehman moment.
Okay, well, let's try to unpack that, Larry, because the idea that you're saying there's close to 100% certainty that there's some kind of merger or rescue or bailout of this company in the next 30 to 60 days, and yet you're suggesting it's not a Lehman moment. Try to make sense of that, square the circle for us, if you could.
Well, like you said, they have better assets. You've got a bigger, backstop of the government. So the question is the Fed going to continue to put stress on the global system? You've got 50 trillion more debt today on the planet Earth, 50 trillion than you did 5 years ago in the last hiking cycle. 50 trillion. So the only way to get out of this, to avoid that type of dynamic, if the Fed, you got the Federal Reserve promising 125, 150 basis points more hikes. They're going to get stopped. They're going to get frozen. They're going to get stopped in their tracks. If they continue,
and Larry, that may very well be why we're seeing green on the screen this morning, this expectation that maybe the Fed is going to, quote unquote, blink, as they say, or if you're data dependent, maybe you look at this data and say, okay, we've done enough. But Larry,